Joining me now is Michael Weiner as gold and silver just keep skyrocketing. Jamie Dimon says gold can easily go to $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce. Can you believe that? Ooh, I remember 10, 15 years ago talking about gold at 5,000. People thought that's crazy. Those are crazy numbers. Can you imagine what would be going on in the country if the price of gold goes to $5,000 an ounce? Well, here we are today. Let's go with what the gold price is. Right now we got gold sitting at around almost $4,200. Let's see here. Oh, there it is, $4,207. And silver is at over $53 an ounce. Joining me now is Michael Weiner. Okay, Mike, you predicted last year or earlier this year gold would be where by the end of the year?
Well, I said 4,200,
Yes,
but I'm
you
ahead of schedule. I moved everything up in the summertime. I moved it up actually in August when we had a show, and I warned people that gold could very likely hit 4,000 by November 1st. We did that 2 weeks early. What's really fueling it even faster is the shutdown. But we talked when, Brandon, you talk. I remember our shows we did 10 years ago on the radio, and we'd be talking about things. And what people have to, we talked in January, the first couple days of January, gold was like 2,400, 2,500. And I predicted $4,000 gold. And you said, seriously, something to that effect? And here we are. I'm telling you now, Jamie Dimon, who's the most strongest banker in America, one of the strongest bankers in the world, but he's the number one banker in America, to call for $5,000 gold, just like UBS president did. That's a warning. But what it is for all of the viewers to understand is don't sit on the sidelines, because what's running gold right now is not just excitement and it's a great investment. Gold is money that's literally being a conduit to the new digital systems globally. And if you do not do something to protect yourself further, you will be paying me more and getting less, because restructuring is on the way. And we're finding, Wes and I, we talked about it last night late about lethargy. People just sitting back and saying, well, I'll see. My financial guy or gal is telling me this or that. Well, what do you expect them to tell you? Did they tell you in 2008 to get out of the market, or when it crashed to hold on? It's your money. You're going to lose, not me, not them, you. Protect yourself.
Well,
We've done well, and that's what's important.
Gold is doing amazing. 2 years ago, it was at, $2,000 an ounce? Just 2 years ago. So you could have more than doubled your money in 24 months. Not that that's what gold's about. It's a hedge against inflation. But Dimon said, quote, gold, quote, easily could go to $5,000, $10,000 in environments like this. This is one of the few times in my life it's semi-rational to have some in your portfolio, end quote. It's semi-rational to have gold in your portfolio. Well, there you go.
Well, you're going to see something like that from a paper person. He's a paper guy.
Yeah.
But he's being very honest, because in all due respect, his business is not based on gold. His business is literally based on paper. His investment business, et cetera. But if you brought the Rockefeller family in, who owned Chase Bank, they used to have something called the Iron Mountain Depository in New York. It was a storage facility underneath Wall Street. I got to go there in 1979 and go into the vault. Everybody was walking around. It's like a big caves, and it was huge, like this huge baseball field full of just openness, like a damp basement. And guess what that was used for by the Rockefellers? To store their stock certificates. It shows you how wealthy they were to have all that paper. But what were they storing in 1979 there? Gold. That was one of the largest depositories in the country at one time that got moved. But that's literally a very famous facility, and that's where the Rockefellers stored stock certificates in the 1900s, and then they moved it to gold later on.
Well, look at this. Bank of America calls for $5,000 gold and $65 silver in 2026. That's over at Kitco News. $65 silver next year.
I'm looking next year for gold at 5,500 by year end, 5,000 by October 31st, 4,400 to 4,500 the first quarter. I give you all my predictions now. And silver, I said $60 to $80 an ounce. The big story with silver is that silver is tested its $50 range. I said if it runs up to 55, excitement will run it up to 60, and then after that, it's going to move. I just have to watch it. I think it'll reach a limitation. It's not a financial instrument. It's an industrial metal that's also involved with corporations, developers, industry. It's not just a commodity of financial means as gold is. So it's got to be watched. We do that. But, I'm not going to be a person sitting here talking about $200 silver, excuse me, because I don't see it at all. And if you remember, Brandon, when you talked about gold at $2,000 an ounce, you were on the radio, and I said at that time when gold went over $2,000 an ounce, it will never go below it again in our lifetime. When gold stabilizes right now above 4,000, you're going to never see it below that again in your lifetime. Done.
Mm. All right. So let me ask you this, Michael. What does someone do? Let's say gold goes to $5,000 an ounce. Silver goes to $65 an ounce. Will there be anybody that wants to buy it at those levels?
Of course. Absolutely. And we do. One of the things about Swiss America, which you enjoy with your worldview people, is our ability to repurchase. We haven't missed a repurchase in 44 years.
Okay, let me make sure the audience understands. You guys have not missed a repurchase in 44 years.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, so let's say it goes to $10,000 an ounce. All of a sudden, everybody, the people that bought in at $2,000 an ounce, they're saying, okay, I'm going to take my $100,000 I put in at $2,000 an ounce, and I'm going to cash it out at $10,000 an ounce. That's a major uptick in your investment. I'm going to take that and take those profits off the table. Your company's going to buy it at $10,000 an ounce?
Of course, because first of all, we're not a futures company. We're not selling the price. We're selling a long-term investment. We don't do business. If somebody says to me, all I want to do is make money, go bet on the price. We're here to secure and protect your estate, or secure and protect your life. If you want to sell something out, we will buy it back. And just remember, there will be more buyers at 10,000 than there are right now. America has been indoctrinated to pay higher prices.
Well, look what they've done with Bitcoin, right?
Exactly.
What are they paying for Bitcoin for one coin right now?
I think, what is it, 112,000 or something like that? It's ridiculous.
For one coin.
Look, I bought my first gold coin, 1 ounce gold coin, for $42.50 in my lifetime. I've seen it go up 96 times in value. I just had a Swiss America client today, who, not Worldview client, actually, a Worldview person, who retired today. And he needed his money from selling his gold to retire and move down to Florida and take his money with him. And it was planned that way. We planned that way 8 years ago. I mean, he more than quadrupled his money. And not only that, what a smile on his face.
Can you ask him to make a donation to worldviewfoundation.com since we introduced
I can do that. I could do that. But what a wonderful comment that he made. He said, this has been such a peaceful investment for me. It's just been, I haven't lost sleep at night. I haven't been concerned about getting phone calls that my market's crashing. All I know is 8 years ago I did this, and now I'm getting like almost $750,000 out of a $200,000, a little bit under $200,000 investment, which pays for my house and gives us something that we never expected.
Can we say that again? So he did a little under 200,000.
Correct.
And he's getting back 750.
748.
And he can go now and take that and put it into a house in Florida.
Correct. And guess how much information I needed from him when I wrote him the check? We didn't. The company writes him the check.
Zero.
Nothing. He bought the private gold. So how he handles his business is between him, God, and the IRS. He's got privacy in what he's doing, and he's retiring peacefully. But he also didn't have to lose sleep at night with what's going on. The idea of what our goal is to offer you that security. But people got to get off their seat. My dad used to say you could always find people who sat on the fence because they had a welt on their rear end. The reality is if you want to sit back and do something, you're going to pay me more later, or you're going to be forced to do some because of changes that happen, not with the gold market, but with the financial world. And the reality is don't sit around anymore. Get active. Be reviewing your portfolio. Make changes that you need to do. We can help you only if you tell us that's what you'd like to do.
All right, tell me what's going on. And by the way, you can do that by going to worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com, and fill out the form there, or text West 6. What is the number now, guys? 6, I forgot. Throw it up there. Thank you. 602-558-8585. Needed help getting started. 602-558-8585. All right. Gold, silver, those are hard assets. How do you think other assets are going to do? People that are into, say, land, farmland, rental properties. How are those hard assets going to do as the dollar unwinds?
I believe, I said this on the show before, I believe America's rich enough to rent. I think that rental properties are going to be very, very prominent in today's world for the people, rather than getting an apartment, would rather live in a house with their family and go to a good school district, and they can't afford to put up what's necessary to own a house necessarily right now. And it's nothing better than that. Land, I get concerned about, because what happened with Roosevelt in 1933 is that people, when there was a retracement, they couldn't afford the cost to carry. They didn't have mortgages. They couldn't pay their taxes, and they lost their land because of it. But housing and offering people the ability to own them, rental property, it goes back to the portions in the Bible: gold, silver, land, and cattle. Cattle's doing great. I believe housing market is something that will eventually correct itself because it's way overinflated. But to help your fellow man, why not own rental property that you can sit back and offer somebody the ability to live in a nice house for their family without having to be concerned about having money out of pocket that they don't have.
Well, what about,
so I think,
you say there might be a correction in the housing market. There's some markets where the housing market didn't overheat, like Arizona, other places. Here in the Mid-South, our housing market never overheated. It just did a 5%, a year for the last 10 years or whatever on average. So it didn't overheat. It's basically not even keeping up with inflation, or just at inflation, depending on what you think inflation rate's at. But if the dollar goes down, don't these hard assets of property have to go up?
Absolutely. The whole thing is you got to have the money to pay for it too. So if your money doesn't go up,
for the investor, they're holding those hard assets of property, rental properties. Those homes have to go up, because if the dollar's going down, you can't build that house for the same price. So obviously the value of that home is going to have to go up. Even if there's a reset and prices come down for a period of time, there's going to have to be where it just starts going right back up, just due to the fact the dollar is being debased, regardless of demand or lack thereof, or over demand.
Absolutely. But look what happened in 1979. We had the highest interest rate rise up we've ever seen. Mortgage rates went over, you couldn't even get a mortgage. It was 20%. The interest rates were at 18%. And builders in the house and the value of their property went way up, but they couldn't get loans. They cost their developing their business, and expenses were crazy. And I can tell you now, because I owned the largest gold company in America for a number of years. My partners and I were buying property back where I come from in Michigan for a song, because builders had to sell it just to get cashed out before they lost it. So, we did that because of our gold, literally. So what you have to do is be able to be balanced, to be able to take advantage of that when it does happen, because prices will go up, but the ability to be able to hold their property will go down for some people, and you will have the ability to take advantage of that if you have the right position in your portfolio to make that happen. It's not going to happen with stock certificates, and it's not going to happen with CDs or annuities, because the annuity market, for those people who have annuities, you got to understand, it's not based on government guarantee. It's based on the position of an insurance company. So if that insurance company goes broke, so do you. That's why Metropolitan Life, which used to be the biggest seller of annuities, used to have Snoopy on TV all the time touting annuities, you don't see that anymore because their algorithms and their geniuses out there, their actuaries looked into the future and said, hey, we can't pay this. We're not going to have that money. And they left that industry. So be very careful with that. Very careful. Again, this is a retracement. I think if you can buy property and you can have rental properties, I think it's a great balance to a smart portfolio. But as far as your cash and your money and your investments, shoring up and making sure you have the right balance of gold within your portfolio is unbelievably important right now. And we can't stress it enough before it's too late. Pay more, get less.
All right, there you go. You're going to pay more and get less of it. 602-558-8585. Just text Wes Peters, your name and address. They'll send that free no obligation packet to you. Or you fill out the form at worldviewgold.com. Worldviewgold.com is Jamie Dimon himself even says gold is going to go probably to 5,000, maybe even 10,000. And you have others in the banking industry saying silver will go to $65 next year, 2026. Wow. All right, Michael Weiner, as always, thank you, my friend.
Have a good evening.
You
Say
too.
hello to Dolly. Take care.
All right, guys, that's our broadcast tonight. Do you appreciate all the truth? Worldviewfoundation.com. Can't say it enough. End of the year giving. I'm going to start talking about it now because we have to have a huge end of the year giving. We have to have a lot of folks come and support what we're doing. So we need you to get on board now. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. And as I always say, if you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there as well. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Would you like for folks to hear about this? I was in a restaurant in Northern Illinois over the weekend, finishing up a meal with some of my family. And some young guys were there, and one was wearing a shirt that said Loyola on it. I said, are you a Jesuit? He's like, what? He had no idea what Jesuit was. Started up a conversation. He commented on my suits. He's like, what do you do for a living? I told him. They said, I'm going to start watching you. They actually invited me to come and have sit down and visit with them, but I had to go. What I'm saying is a lot of people want to learn truth. Get these business cards, pass them out. There's a lot of folks looking for truth. And we're offering it here each and every night. So give them these business cards. They're free at worldviewstore.com. May God save America. Take care.